Some advice is so well intentioned that we never question it, even when it fails us in the moments we need it most. See, I had someone in my life that made anything feel possible. My big sister, Nicole. I used to wake up to the sound of her feet tapping on our kitchen floor because she was born a dancer, so you could never keep her still. And she felt everything deeply. I mean, she'd cry watching people win gold medals at the Olympics. And one time she cried when our dog came home with a really bad haircut. She was going to be my maid of honor one day. Until one moment during her trip to Thailand changed everything. October 20th, 2012, 3:37 a.m. Seriously? Who calls at this hour? It's totally a friend doing a prank. But then as I grabbed my phone, I realized this was no prank. It was my mum. Her panicked voice telling me, "Something's happened to your sister." See, Nicole and her boyfriend were on a motorbike, turning into the driveway of their hotel when a rider came speeding up along the wrong side of the road and slammed into them. Nicole took the full impact. Mum's words still echo in my mind. Pray to God she survives. So I did. I went down to the beach and I watched this most stunning sunrise, and I prayed my little heart out that my sister would be okay. And I took this photo of the sunrise so I could show it to Nicole because I couldn't even comprehend that she wouldn't pull through. It was too unthinkable. But then as I got back into the car, my phone rang again, and all I heard was Mum scream, "She didn't make it." And just like that, the unthinkable became our new reality. And as people tried to help, I constantly heard things like, "There's a blessing in everything. Find the positives. What could be the silver lining?" I'm sure you've all heard similar things before. And look, I get it. The self-help world really sold us on this idea that resilience means staying positive and finding bright sides. The problem with that, though, is as I was lying on the floor of my sister's room, choosing out a dress for her to be buried in rather than married in, there was no bright side in that. There's no bright side when someone you love is battling cancer, or your marriage falls apart without warning, or that business that you've poured everything into goes under, and now you're drowning in debt. Sometimes there is no good in a situation. Some situations are just outright painful and unfair. And saying that out loud isn't negativity, it's reality. So, although well intended, the whole look for the positive advice is sometimes as helpful as giving someone a hammer when they're trying to paint a wall. It's the wrong tool for the job. Because you can't solve a problem you're supposed to be grateful for. You can't create change in a situation you're meant to see as a gift, and you can't build resilience when you're too busy performing positivity. In fact, this turns us into spectators of our own lives, as if all we can do is just sit back and wait for silver linings to reveal themselves. That's not what humans are built for. We're not built to just passively accept what happens and hope for the best. We're built to problem solve, to create, to take what's been broken and build something new. We are builders, makers, creators. Because there is a space between what happens and how we respond. And in that space lies our power Our power to decide whether we stay a spectator or become a creator. But how do we access that space when we're spiraling? Well, here's what people get right when they ask questions like, what's the positives in this? Because questions interrupt the spiral. When we ask questions deliberately, we engage the part of our brain capable of problem solving, meaning making, and thinking beyond the moment of struggle that we're in. So, better outcomes begin by asking ourselves better questions. And that better question that shifts us from spectator to creator is, what good can I create from this? This question doesn't ask us to turn away from our problems in denial. It asks us to look at them differently, not as dead ends, but as raw materials for what comes next. What good can I create from this? Maybe it's building the resource that you needed but could never find. Maybe it's becoming the mentor that you wish you had. Or maybe it's creating the art, the music, the writing that turns your pain into connection. Only you know what creating good from your situation could be, but the possibility for it is always there. After Nicole died, I was sitting at my desk with my laptop and I just kept thinking, how many other poor families have suffered what we've been through? So I Googled tourist deaths in Thailand, and what I found made my stomach drop. On average, an Australian tourist was dying in Thailand every 2 to 3 days. And Thai roads are among the deadliest in the world. I was like, oh, if only Nicole knew that. Like, there's no way she would have gotten on that bike, especially without a helmet. And as I started scrolling through photos and videos online, I kept coming across, tourists taking risks on motorbikes, no helmets, no worries, on their phone, laughing, thinking they're having the time of their life, with no clue how quickly it could end their life or how often it does. There was a clear problem. So I didn't delusionally ask myself, yeah, but what's the good in this? No, instead I asked, what good can I create from this? See, we have that footage of Nicole's crash, and yes, it's heart-wrenching to watch, and we could have thrown it under the bed and never looked at it again. But that wouldn't change the fact that it happened. What we could change is whether it happened to someone else. So our family started the Nicole Fitzsimons Foundation, and I quit my corporate job to share Nicole's story with one mission: to bring more tourists home safely. Over the next decade, I traveled Australia speaking with over 200,000 students, watching their faces change as that footage shattered their sense of invincibility. If even one student made a safer choice because of it, it was worth it. And what began with me sitting at my desk piecing together PowerPoint slides using Comic Sans font eventually became a government-funded travel safety movie that's still being shown in schools today. And my mum, Julie, also found her own amazing way to create the good. See, Nicole hated seeing talented people held back from their dreams because of financial struggles. So my mum took that problem and turned it into raising over $300,000 in grants for underprivileged athletes and performers. And it even took her all the way over to volunteering at an orphanage in Kenya and funding dance classes for the kids there. If we'd waited for life to hand us the good in my sister's death, we'd still be waiting, we'd still be helpless, we'd still be bitter. But as I shared love hearts with students at every presentation I gave, I realized While there might not always be good in what happens to us, there is always good within us, in our own two hands, in our willingness to stop waiting and start creating. And this shift, that's what unlocks purpose. And purpose is how we thrive. Not just surviving our struggle, but finding something worth struggling for. And purpose doesn't give back what we've lost, but it does give us back the one thing that our loss can never take away from us: agency, the ability to create change, the power to move forward, the choice to shape what comes next. And then, just months ago, life demanded I prove this all over again. My parents came to visit me in Sheridan, Wyoming, and Mum and I decided to go downtown together and meet back at the car at 1 p.m. When I got back to the car just after 1 and Mum wasn't there, immediately something felt off because Mum was punctual always. So I called her phone a few times, no answer. And then as I turned the corner and looked up, I just saw the road close, the emergency vehicles, lights flashing, chaos everywhere, and my mind just screamed, this can't be happening again. But it was. A driver hit my mum as she was crossing the crosswalk with the walk signal, doing everything right. And just like my sister, she didn't make it. So please know, as I stand here today, I'm very much in that raw phase of grief. But I know I am not powerless inside this pain because I know which question to ask. Not what's the good in this, but what good can I create from this? See, the driver who killed my mum has a history of dangerous driving convictions, and yet my mother's death was charged as nothing more than a misdemeanor. There's the problem. There's my raw material for purpose. So I'm advocating with Wyoming lawmakers to change this law so repeat offenders are held accountable and our roads are safer for everyone. And Sheridan, my new hometown, is coming together to create the good next month, launching its first pedestrian awareness campaign. Because a second to look can mean a life saved. Also, we're expanding the good we already created through renaming the foundation the Nicole and Julie Fitzsimons Foundation. Mother and daughter, one legacy, side by side. I know my family's tragedies and your struggles may seem entirely different, but they're also very much the same. Their life hitting us with the unexpected, as it will, often without any silver linings, but always with the chance for you to create them, for you to be the good thing that happens by asking that better question. What good can I create from this? Go build the thing that only you can build because of what you've lived. That's not just resilience, that's thriving.